dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you this morning? How was your weekend? Do let us know in the chat. Busy one here on the Silver Coast in San Martino de Porto and actually in other parts of the Silver Coast area. I met up with Tom and Toddie yesterday, and it's going to be interesting chatting with them. This is what can happen. If you meet up with me, you might end up on the show the next day, which is what I hope is going to happen. Fingers crossed. Not just fingers, I got my wires crossed. I thought it was just me and James today in the slot where Anna used to join us. Anna's taking a bit of a break at the moment. I hope she'll join us again. Remember, she of the Portuguese immersion experience. And along those lines, I've got another idea to share with you actually in terms of immersion and learning the language. And we'll talk more with James about that. But I thought it was me and James and where Anna used to join us, but a little bit of a hiatus, and hopefully we'll be joining us again soon. But no, it was meant to be Tig James this morning. However, serendipitously, got a message late last night. I saw a message late last night. She sent it much earlier in the day to say from Tig that she's meeting the British ambassador, who is now in position this week. So maybe it would be better to talk next week. So that worked out perfectly, even though I got my wires crossed. We are going to talk to Tig next week after she's had a chat with the British ambassador and hopefully issued an invitation from the Yampa community to come and join us on the screen, just like Chris did, the last ambassador, British ambassador, predecessor, who we spoke to on the Good Morning Portugal show. So perhaps we'll talk to the new ambassador soon after Tig has greased the runners for us, so to speak, and have a great meeting with the ambassador there, Tig, and we'll see you next Monday. So yes, James we'll see at 9. And Tom and Toddie. Now, this is Toddie, who is scouting, having a look around Portugal. We met up yesterday afternoon and a little wander over towards Nazaré, and then I took him to Alcobaça, and they came back and spent the afternoon in San Martino de Porto. And I would say had a fine time. And there, of course, is Toddie's Tonic. I say, of course, as though you know that. I meant to bring some in. I'll have to pop out of the studio and grab my tonic that she makes and brought to us to try. It's amazing stuff. Puts hairs on your chest. It's a wonderful immune system booster made of all lovely natural things in there. It's a fermentation. I think there's kombucha in there and all manner of lovely vegetables and health-giving substances, foods basically. And there you can see the Toddie's Tonic filmed in Alcobaça and then later on in the afternoon filmed in San Martino de Porto. So this, with my help, or suggestion, or mischief, you might say, has been turned into the Toddie's Tonic Tour. And as they make their way around Portugal, they'll be taking pictures of the tonic in various parts of the country. And we'll be talking to Tom and Toddie at around 9:30. Hopefully they can make the link. They're staying in the area. They're having a look around Portugal. And it's going to be lovely to talk to them about their first impressions. I think they've been here less than 48 hours now, and they hit the ground running with me yesterday, having a little look around the Silver Coast area. And it was lovely to hang out with them both. And I think they had a good time. You can ask them, we can ask them for ourselves how they got on and what they think of the country so far when they join us at 9:30. And James, before then, do you remember last week, I think he have to skin out, as my dad used to say, although that sounds like something very different these days, doesn't it? Skinning out. He left the show pretty promptly, I think, last week to go do a residency renewal. So hopefully he'll talk to us about how that went. And I believe it was in Cascais, the office, the IMA office, formerly CEF in Cascais. So we'll find out how James got on. And I think he was, in fact, first into the chat room. this morning. First among the three wise men of the Gumpocalypse, and that would be Slipper Slug slips and slides slowly along. Thank you very much for that, James. I can just see the mischievous look on your face, and knowing that I'm going to have to read that out a few minutes after you've posted that up on the screen with your new name for the week. So yeah, friend of Slug James on the screen and in the studio at 9, and with a bom dia Gumpas, feliz segunda a todos. Como foi o vosso fim de semana? Como foi o vosso fim de semana? Let us know in the chat. What did you do this weekend? We've got a mindful moment to come. We've got Coach Turner, God Squad tip of the day. We've got dad jokes from T-Duck as well, and a deep thought. And the three wise men of the Gumpocalypse have been busy, so courteous and polite to each other as well, as they limber up and warm the toilet seat of the show first thing in the morning. Pete's here, Owen's here, Michael's here. João de Rod, bom dia, Portugal. Come on, we still need that bit of video of you bellowing that from your rooftop across the Ponte Lima valleys there, John. Good morning to you. And lovely contributions from you all. Owen's on the bus, I believe, or on public transport. What did you say? You're on your way to Lisbon anyway. So maybe a picture. I suspect not unlike here on the Silver Coast, a little grey and miserly this morning on your journey there. Let us know, Owen, if you will. So let's go back to these comments. Oh, and did you go to the zoo at the weekend in Lisbon? If you're going to the zoo in Lisbon, be careful. Do not drop your phone into the otter enclosure. I will tell you why in just a moment. And don't forget tonight, it's the Wine Club. If I forget to mention it again this morning, Wine Club at 8 o'clock this evening. Bring something along with a funny name. That's the instruction from Garvo. The GMP Wine Ninjas will be meeting tonight at 8. Sipping on something interesting, unusual, or funny, well, wine that is, sipping on something interesting, unusual, or with a funny name from any region. A show and tell as we drink and have a bit of a laugh and a giggle and hang out online. You're very welcome to join us. Bring what you have, and if it's liqueur de merda that you have, tell us what it's like. Liqueur de late as well. It's a milky liqueur. Well, make your minds up in Cantonada. Is it merda or is it late, or is it top notes of both? I wonder. Okay, let's go back to those comments in the chat then and see how everybody's doing, including our God Squad tips of the day and mindful moments. Mindful moment first up. Unexpected kindness. This one from Bob Kerry. Unexpected kindness is the most powerful, least costly, and most underrated agent of human change. Isn't that lovely? When you might have thought in the age that we live in that shouting loudest and getting upset with people was the way to bring about human change. Not that I think it works especially well. Turns out unexpected kindness is the most powerful, least costly, and most underrated agent of human change. And you know what? I've got a little video to share with you that I think underlines that fact. We'll come back to that as well. Me in the laundrette or laundromat here in San Martino de Porto. There was a lovely little outbreak of human kindness in there yesterday. Mindful dad joke then from James. I tell myself exactly what I need to do to be healthy. Problem is, I hate being told what to do. You're getting more and more competition, Coach Turner, I think, who's here as well and was in at 7:58 this morning. Bom dia, Campus. Feliz segunda e bem-vindo a no. I'll do that again. Bom dia, Campus. Feliz segunda e bem-vindo a uma nova semana. There you go. Not that difficult. Congratulations to Portugal for reaching the final of the Rugby Europe Championship with a great win over Spain. It's a roller coaster ride, is it not, for Portuguese rugby being beaten? What was it, 95 something? A little token commiseration, few points back when they played England A. Why England A? It wasn't the first team, so why are they called England A, Coach Turner? But that's great news. A great win over Spain. Georgia awaits next then for Portugal in the Rugby Europe Championship with the Os Lobos there. Wow. Incredible. What a journey they're having at the moment. Bon dia, Alegria Gumpers from T-Duck at 8:01 with good morning, Coach. If throwing a fit... if throwing a fit counts as exercise, then I'm already in shape. God Squad tip of the day then. He's a bit keen there, wasn't he, T-Duck? Speed week. What? We all become slower as we age. Now, talking of being slow, did you see my opening meme, so to speak, this morning? When I was your age, this is what you can say to kids. When I was your age, Sounds like Stephen Heed, doesn't it? Emotional damage. When I was your age, I had to walk 10 feet through the shag carpet to change the TV channel. That sounds like early God Squad training, doesn't it? When we were younger, not knowing that we would be in this God Squad together in this time of our lives. But look at that, 10 feet through shag carpet to change the TV channel. Your God Squad tip of the day: as we age, we become slower. For example, my friend Dwayne set the European 60-meter record of why 60 meters? Why is it 60 and not 50? Why doesn't he do the extra 40 and do 100 there? Not that I would never say that to his face. Why don't you, says Dwayne to me, perhaps. And there he'd have finished it while I'm still doing up my shoelaces, of course. Dwayne set the European 60-meter record of 6.42 seconds 15 years ago. He has recently run 6.81. Wow, 15 years later, to set the world 45 and over record. That is amazing, isn't it? 15 years and still fractions of a second difference there. That's incredible. And let's shout out, because I'm sure Coach Turner is very modest about his part in that, in helping Dwayne Chambers with a bit of coaching insight as well. So nice one. Thank you for sharing that with us this morning. I think there might be more. I'm all over the place. What's new about that? No, hold on a minute. Yes, because T-Duck jumped in. Crap, I thought you were done. No, still more. Give me 5 minutes. So how can we be more Dwayne and minimize the aging effect on our speed? It's speed week then. Looking forward to this. First, let's understand a little about the muscles we use to go quickly. There are broadly two types. Okay, so back to the twitch muscles. This is exactly what Joao Denort was asking for. Thank you, Coach Turner. There are broadly two types: slow muscles and fast twitch muscles. You can train to increase both, but genetics will also have a big effect. Fast twitch muscles are the fight or flight ones, powerful but inefficient, using a lot of energy very quickly. And if you're cutting out on the carbs, presumably that doesn't help. How are they best powered up? Is it protein or carbs? Like all muscles, we have to use them or lose them. So some speed training is needed to minimize the effects of aging. We'll look at how you might achieve that during the rest of the week. Yes, thank you very much. There you go, T-Duck. Over to you. And the dad jokes have been started up now for later sharing with. I wonder how Tom and Toddie will react to a dad joke. I think Tom will like a dad joke when we see him on the screen a little bit later on. Thank you very much. So Bob Kerry, we did that unexpected kindness and mindful dad joke then this morning. I tell myself exactly what I need to do to be healthy. Oh, we've already done this, but I'm going to do it again. Problem is I hate being told what to do. That works very nicely with the God Squad tips of the day there. Thank you very much. And let's go to your visuals as well, shall we? I'm looking for an excuse to share this picture. So I'm not going to keep looking for an excuse. I'm just going to show you. Do you remember that guy? Quite amazing. And your visuals this morning, where have they gone? I might have to come back to those. Oh, here they are. Here's one of them anyway. Did you know, this is a mindful meme, trees can elicit positive feeling states in humans? Well, I'm sure there's no doubt about that. We all feel better, don't we, when we walk into a forest, unless we've trodden in some dog poo or it starts to rain or something like that. But generally speaking, it's great fun to hang out with trees, is it not? Thank you very much for that. A beautiful picture as well of a little kid walking into the forest there, and a fairy-type glow in the distance there. And your meme here, your Star Trek meme, can't, won't, shouldn't, isn't. What's going to be the punchline here, I wonder? Sounds like you're starting to have contractions. I didn't know they were technically called that in grammar circles. Thank you very much for that this morning then, James. See you at around 9 o'clock when we play your lovely theme tune and then talk to you about your recent reflections and experiences. Let's go back to the chat and see what Pete's been up to this weekend. Have you finished your ploughing, Pete? No euphemism intended there. Hope you had a lovely weekend, says Pete, T-Duck and Ian. It's definitely a low-hanging, thick grey blanket of cloud today. And morning. Oh, and no, that's not Mrs. M. That was me saying good morning, gentlemen. Anyway, morning, Louisa, says Pete. You and the family. Hope you and the family had a smashing weekend too. We really did. Hola, bon dia. Watching whilst traveling to Lisboa. And Michael Barton's in with a bon dia, everyone. Good to see you here, Michael. And oh no, not just me and you. What's that? Oh yes, it is just, yeah, sorry. No, it's okay. Tom and Toddie will be coming in to break the uncomfortable silence that's often there when you and I are talking on a Monday morning, James. Strip ochre. Hold on a minute. What's going on here? However, would we fill the time? Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? I do need to leave promptly at 10, however. I will not keep you. I'll bear that in mind. Mental note there. Really wonderful visit to Guimarães yesterday, says João de Norte. As residents, we were able to enjoy gratis entry to both Castelo de Guimarães. So residents of where? What? Of that district? Is it a district-wide, the residential privilege there, João de Norte? And the Passo dos Duques de Bragança, I highly recommend visiting. Excellent. And happy birthday, Ponte Lima. 899 years old today. Wow, that's a birthday. Parabéns, je vous say. Neatly named Ponte Lima Day. How did they arrive at that? Oh, and he's on the train. He's making his way to the capital on the train. Hola, bon dia, Malta. Cantinera. Bairrada. Seeing that. Yes, and here's a quick review then of the Licor de Merda. Tastes great, as does their new wine. More, is that Mais Merda? The name of their wine. That's amazing. I wonder if I can get that for tonight. I haven't bought me wine yet for tonight, but something with an unusual name or a funny name or an interesting name from any region is what we'll be drinking tonight. Pam's in as well. Bon dia. How you doing, Pam? And I was in your town yesterday afternoon. It's so lovely, Alcobaça, isn't it? And Cairo, good morning to you. Good morning from Cairo. Fantastic. Antonio F. also in. Bon dia todos. And does 10 minutes, Pam asks, of prodigy time on the cross-train account of speed train? Definitely. I would say so. And half the UK, this is the first part of a UK history tidbit. The Palace of the Dukes of Braganza was the home of Catherine of Braganza, Queen Consort to King Charles II, the headless one. Oh, and you know what? She was the one we spoke about last Tuesday. We had, Marion Guerre talking to us about Catherine and her importation of tea into the United Kingdom, thus thereby starting a habit for the culture of the United Kingdom. They probably offered her alcohol, and she said, I would prefer tea, please, which changed the course of a nation, certainly its drinking habits. Thank you very much for that. And she is often, there you go, credited for bringing tea culture to Britain. The use of forks as well, so she's a bit handy on the old garfo, if not the fucker. And the bread spread and marmalade. What is the bread spread? Is that butter? I can't believe it's not butter. She is often credited for bringing tea culture to Britain, the use of forks. Well, what did the Brits do before they had forks? I wonder. I'm genuinely asking that question. They can be an aggressive and angry bunch, the Brits, can't they? So maybe they just had knives, and it took a Portuguese queen to come along and say, do you know what? Maybe you need a nice fork to go. I beg your pardon. You need a nice, I said fork. You need a nice, I said farker. You need a nice fork to go with that. And the bread spread, what is that? A little basket of bread before a meal? What? I don't know what that is, João de Norte. And marmalade also. I can understand how marmalade would have been taken from Portugal and offered into the royal court of England, as it would have been, and then adopting that. I mean, tea, toast with marmalade on. Look back to Portugal. It's the janitor, isn't it? Pull off the janitor's hood, and Portugal's under there, causing trouble and bringing tea and marmalade to England. Today, but in 2001, in Entre os Rios. Thank you for that, John, by the way. The Hinsa Ribeiro bridge collapsed. What? A bus and 3 cars crossing it fell into the waters of the Douro and were swept downstream. Some bodies were rescued in Galicia. Oh, no, that's awful. In 2001, in all, 59 people died, and the responsibility was blamed on the collection of sand, which weakened the bridge's pillars. That is so awful, isn't it? Just thinking you off to work on an ordinary day, and something like that happens on the Hintz Ribeiro Bridge. Yikes, that's grisly. Thank you for sharing this morning, Antonio F. And from Bairrandi, bon dia, Michael. Oh, he's boozing buddy there, yeah, from Coimbra. When's the next beer festival, everybody? Love Guimarães, must go back there sometime, says Pam. I've not been there yet. I'm looking forward to that. And as residents of Portugal, oh, there you go. All residents get free passes on Sundays to many cultural places through the nation. How about that? That's I don't think I knew that, or maybe I did and forgotten. So that's a nice reminder. There's a write-up on the liqueur and wine on the Gumper VIP website. Excellent. Do you know what? I'm going to try that now. I'm going to go to the Portugal Club, of which many of you are members. Some of you haven't been there for a little while. And do you know what? I'm going to share it on the screen, and I'm going to search for merda to see if I can find what Bairandi is talking about. So let's go to Carl Munson's Portugal Club and bring it onto the screen so you can see it there. Portugal Club, theportugalclub.com. Now, the search function on this thing is amazing. And we've already got a member online somewhere else in the world. If I put merda into the search and look for it, I wonder, yes, it does. There are 2 entries on the timeline. So there's a Boozy Business, a timeline submission from November of last year, and Try Something Portuguese. What do you recommend? Oh, that's when Bairandi said, Licor de Merda, thought you may appreciate this write-up I found. Maybe, there we go, that's what he's talking about. And also in the classroom, Licor de Merda is in our collection of classic wines and specialities. Yes, really, there is a drink called Licor de Merda here in Portugal, and the Portugal Club working very nicely there. The search function is fantastic. Michael Barton tried to stop by your neck of the woods, but unfortunately got rained out. Yes, a lot of that going on at the moment, isn't there? You will not be disappointed. Don't be put off by the rain. Wait for a better day, Michael and Karen, and go to the Bairrada district. And I would recommend going to the Curia Palace Hotel. It's an amazing building. That's in a lovely little town. We used to live there, and really, I want to go back there. And we should be having, Ben Austin, what's going on with the Bairrada Discovery Weekend? We were meant to be having one, and I think we were going to Cantanhede to try some new aguardente from a new, well, not a new producer, but a new line from an existing producer there. I believe marmalade is the bread spread. Thank you very much. The confection used to spread on bread. Thank you very much there for that clarification. And free entry includes the Alcobaça Monastery. But you could just walk in there anyway. Or is that because it was a Sunday I was able to do that? You don't have to. Oh, okay. You can walk into the main part of the monastery, I think, at any time, but maybe free entry on a Sunday. And it was rocking and people were so well dressed, Pam, in Alcobaça yesterday. People had really made an effort, I think, to go to church or to promenade around the town. It was wonderful in Alcobaça. And who's this? Good morning, folks. A special shout out to the voters who sent Sir George Galloway. Is he Sir George? Back to the UK Parliament, proof that we still have power to elect politicians who truly represent us, the ones who speak the truth. So Frank, a fan of George Galloway. It's going to be an interesting day in the British Parliament as George Galloway makes a thundering return. I'm going to be watching his maiden speech. Well, he's been in there a few times already, hasn't he? But his maiden return speech after winning that by-election in the UK. And I will join you for the Bairrada Discovery Week. He's turned it into a week. We will need a week. And do you remember, Frank, what are your memories of visiting me in the Bairrada district? We went to that amazing winery, didn't we? Where I was very impressed with your Portuguese and schmoozing abilities there. We ate a massive pile of meat together, as I recall, in a restaurant. We had the meat sweats after that, didn't we? And we did go to the Curia Palace, and we talked of doing a little event there. So maybe this is it, Frank. Good to see you this morning. And the Alcobaça church part is free anyway. There you go. But there is more to it than just going through. I mean, it's quite enough, honestly, to see the tombs of Pedro and Inês. But there is another part at the back, I think, to which Pam is referring. And I tend to avoid museums and historical places on free days. They're always too busy. Lucky for you, you can go anytime, I guess. They're T-Duck and T-Duck. But getting under the vestments is an extra charge. Well, that is what I was told, says Pete. And free entry is only to the church. There's a lot more to see. So there you go. Have you ever been in? There was a procession yesterday, and that is why people were busy, why it was busy, and people were dressed up. That's excellent. Thank you very much for all of that, everybody, this morning. And it's been warm but a bit damp, like my pants, apparently. What? That's the sort of thing Pete says. Well, I guess, yes, it is the sort of thing Bairrandi says as well. Now, talking of my pants, as we seem to be, and them being, what is it, damp? Dark and damp? I tend to use bright colors, actually, which I hope you'll never have to see. But talking of my smalls, let me play you a little video of what I think is the best, possibly this is the best laundrette in the whole wide world. And there's an outbreak of human kindness during this as well. And I've got a video to play for you from Lisbon Zoo and a naughty otter. But check this out first, okay? This is a good reason for fellas to offer to do the laundry. Even if you've got a washing machine, it's like, no, it's okay. Let me take care of this. Hola, bon dia, Munson here with... Well, I don't often do a live stream solely to the San Martino de Porto meetup. San Martino de Porto meetup group. However, I'm just here in what I think is what I'm calling the best man cave in Western Europe. I'm out doing a bit of laundry, and it just so happens that my laundry, or laundromat, as I think Americans would call it, happens to be next to a bar, which is normally open. To be fair, this is Saturday lunchtime. So it's not quite got into full swing yet. But if you look inside here, you see there's a great bar where you can get beer, obviously, and coffee. And there's a top shelf as well. And there are quiz machines. And there's TV for the big sports games. They put the football on here. There's a game here that I don't know what that is, but it looks like fun. And there are more traditional games, like if I swing round my man cave here, where I pretend I'm going to do the laundry for Mrs. M, has a pool table, a dartboard, a table football game, and more space here for other men to come and, under the cover of being good fellas doing the laundry, and I'll just dry those damp sheets off. You know, it's a bit rainy at the moment, love. I'll go down to the laundrette and do that for you. Let's meet up here, fellas, and have a bit of fun. Look, ice cream as well. Everything you could possibly want whilst you're waiting for your smalls to dry. And one really touching, special thing that I've noticed here today is somebody's left their change for the laundrette. There's a change machine, by the way, here as well, so you don't need to... Oh, and all the laundry machines have built-in detergent. Now, I know this laundry situation is not very suitable for you if you're maybe a couple or single living at home with a washing machine, but this is a really good excuse to get out as well. We've got 3 kids, so we've got more washing than most people. So that's why I like coming down here to take care of that in a multitasking sort of way. But coming back to this change that's on the top here, somebody's left this money behind here, and there's what, 1, 2, 2.50, possibly €3 there. Nobody's touched it. And I love that. I'm saying, you know, that's the beauty of living in Portugal. It might not happen in every big city if you leave change there. But here, in small town, San Martino de Porto, and I mean that in a good way, you can forget your money and come back for it later. And maybe somebody else who needs it more will pick it up and have something to eat with it. But no one's just descended upon it and picked it up. So isn't that lovely? So maybe see you down here. Have a great weekend, bon fin de semana, and I'll see you down here at the Man Cave Laundrette when things are jumping most weekday evenings. All right, have a great weekend. Bye for now. How good is that? Maybe see you there. Come for the weekend. Bring your laundry. Here in beautiful San Martino de Porto. Yes, I missed the cigarette machine. There is a cigarette machine, of course, as well. Obligatory in a Portuguese cafe. Football, there you go. Not a table football game. There's just simply called football, isn't it? And apparently Pam says there's a laundrette in Porto with a bar inside. I think it's called Bar of Soap. Very good. I thought laundry was the man's job anyway. Nicely done. Tony is well trained, clearly. Yes, and maybe as a special gesture as we approach International Women's Day, I'm getting myself in all sorts of trouble here. See you at the Man Cave Laundrette. And no, you didn't, Bike Andy. What's going on with you, Bike Andy? Did I hear Carl's touching someone's special thing? No, I think it's just the way it came out, which is another thing I won't be saying in court. It's just the way it came out. Who doesn't like to get under the vestments first thing in the morning? Excellent. Thank you for your commentary there on the Man Cave Laundrette. Bar of Soap, that's very good. And let me just play you then a little bit of video of this naughty otter. Be careful if you're going to Lisbon Zoo. There is an otter there that if you... I saw this, it was like a tweet, an excerpt. What was it called these days? No, it's called X. I call them tweets anyway. And it was like, this is what happened when a tourist dropped their phone into the otter enclosure at Lisbon Zoo. And I'm thinking, oh, I bet the sweet little otter brought the phone back to the person who dropped the phone in. That's not exactly what happened.
我真的笑不活了。我的冤种朋友把手机掉进水塔池了。
Buen dia.
Yeah. Naughty otter. That wasn't your phone, was it?
The otter really ought to make you laugh.
He ought to make you laugh. That's probably 900 euros worth of foam being smashed on the rocks there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I have a little bit of experience with otters, at least sea otters, from my docent days in Santa Cruz. What he was trying to do there was break it open to see if there was anything to eat inside. That's what they do. And they'll lay on their backs and take a stone and pound it on a clam to break it open. I
actually feel really sorry for him now, because it would have taken him ages to break that apart, only to find that there's nothing juicy and fishy inside it.
Well, if you the series in the video looked like he just gave up and put it on his belly and said, "Okay, let me see if I can find a rock to smack this with or something." But
and
it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, Lisbon Zoo, everybody, be careful if you're taking their phone.
You thought that sweet otter would bring it back to the guy? Yeah, right.
I think you're looking for a higher order primate for that sort of behavior.
Perhaps. Yeah. A dolphin, maybe.
A dolphin, exactly. A dolphin. And maybe Apple's design team maybe can include a little bit of a sea urchin in new phones, just in case that does happen again.
Or maybe he was bright enough to see that it was an apple and thought he could eat it. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Oh, yes, or a blackberry. Yes, thank you very much.
What's a blackberry?
Well, yeah, okay. But it's almost in the same territory as having to walk 10 feet through a shag pile carpet.
Yeah, it just hit me today. The name shag. It's like, oh, maybe that carpeting was named after the British word.
I hope not. I mean, can you think? I mean,
big fluffy carpet on the floor. Like, what else are you gonna do with it? What do you call it? It's a shag carpet.
Sure, but I mean, the cleaning of said carpet, you've got to be.
Either way, I mean, no matter what, they were a pain in the butt to try to clean.
Pain in the butt, huh? I think the Brits would have preferred some white, clean linoleum. Quite frankly.
Well, that's what you get a dog for.
Oh no! So how are you? How's your
you put me over the edge with the whole otter thing. So
slug, man.
Okay, I'll bring it back in. Okay.
Oh, actually, yes. Have you been in touch with your lawyer yet? Because we do have a situation, don't we, with Mindful Mondays? I sent you a meme, didn't I? I'm just saving it now. So that we can bring this to the attention of our own legal team.
I'm not sure if they had sufficient change in the. I think there's supposed to be a percentage difference in the actual presentation.
What do we think? Have we got a case or not?
We could argue it.
This is a commentary on the hell of modern life, really, isn't it? Let's be proactive. Growth mindset, self-care webinar, delete negativity, and Mindful Mondays. What? Are they taking the rise out of us a little bit there? I think they might be, don't you?
Well, you know what? By putting it on here, you've just presented the possibility of a countersuit for publishing copyrighted material without permission.
Yes. You really are on form this morning, aren't you?
What is that? Is that irony? I think it is. I think that's an example of irony.
It sounds like a lot of trouble to me. I'm going to claim fair use policy. And
I'll just say, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and leave it there.
Yes, absolutely. Now, have you had any back scratching? What's been going on in this? You don't have to answer that. But how has your week been since we last spoke?
My weeks go wonderfully, regardless of what happens. And I don't mean to sound trite there. I know I can hear someone else say that and go, "Oh, get over it. Come on, tell the truth." But, it is the truth for me. My move to Portugal was the right thing to do for me. And it's been right for nearly 2.5 years now. So Yeah, every week's a good week, whether I'm sitting in my studio while it's pouring down rain and blowing wind sideways across the sky, or sunny and beautiful and I'm standing at the coast looking at the ocean. I mean, it's all just wonderful. And it's not infatuation. It's not like, ooh, it's all so new, so everything is
Not
wonderful. It's
anymore.
like, this is just the way it is, and I love it. It's
Yeah.
more appropriate. So
Yeah.
I have had some time, and I will talk a little bit about my residency renewal. But in the absence of having to prove that I deserve to be in the country anymore, there's this huge, and it's not prove to deserve. It's actually producing the massive piles of documentation to demonstrate that I qualify. That's the real jammer for me. So in the absence of that, it's like, oh, now what am I going to do with all this time I have? And I thought I had a lot of time already. I had no idea how much energetic space and actual physical logistical time it was taking to make sure I had this right. And then I contacted that and I translated that and I got that figured out and I know where to go. And just all that stuff I talked about earlier with the whole immigration fatigue thing. It's like, ooh, that one's done. I've got 3 years before I have to do anything to document myself again. And there's a tremendous sense of relief. There's a project I've been wanting to work on for, I don't know, at least a year, that I actually started working on. And it's like, whew, this is a whole other new experience here in Portugal, having time to do just whatever the heck you want to do, as opposed to things that you need to get done.
Yep.
So that's been great. And along that line, because I am so focused on learning the language and I talk about the language a lot, and I realize, oh, I could probably do that every Monday, but I'm not really a language teacher. So that would seem, I don't know, maybe pretentious. But I thought of one new thing I'm going to introduce to my Monday spot, which is one thing I've learned. And it will be specific about the Portuguese language. So just one thing at a time. Then we can all, it's a bite we can chew and swallow rather than get inundated with it. Yeah. So I thought this week, and this is stuff that comes up a lot that I have spent a lot of time thinking about. One of them is this pesky little pronunciation of this little city in Portugal that is spelled Setúbal.
Yes, come on, let's deal with it once and for all.
And I know there's no right answer to this. I mean, Antonio will back me on this, I'm sure. Like, just ask a Portuguese and they'll tell you how they pronounce it, and it'll be one of 15 different ways that people pronounce the name, because
in the same sentence.
They do. And yet everyone knows what they're talking about. I mean, everyone knows what they're referring to. So I went with the one that made the most sense to me, presented by an academic trained linguist who happens to be Mia Esmerich, who is, has the all-in-one Portuguese language course that I'm using and really appreciate. And it made a ton of sense to me, because we want to say Setúbal because we have the sh s before what we think is a consonant, a T. So yeah, it would be st, right? Yeah, like sta. Yeah, that's how we do it. And what she said made a ton of sense to me. She says, because those are the sounds, it's reasonable.
Yeah.
But if you look at the spelling of the word, there is a vowel between the S and the T. Even though it is not pronounced, it's still there. So if you follow that rule, the S would be just S. So you would pronounce it Setúbal, not Setúbal. And I said, that just agreed with my logic mind, my analytical mind. I said, okay, and my need for rules. It's like, okay, yeah, that follows all the rules and makes a ton of sense to me. So I made the choice that from that point forward, I would refer to it as Setúbal. And obviously it's not bal because it's Portuguese. And you just sort of swallow those vowels. But so that's what I did. That's one thing I learned about pronunciation of one little city, and perhaps rules that would apply in other cases.
Very
Setúbal,
good.
not Setúbal. And we've had people say that they've talked to people from Setúbal who have said the name of the town 3 different ways in the same sentence. So take it for what it's worth. But that's the logic I use for learning that, putting it in the remember that category, and don't have to think about it anymore.
Very good. Thank you for that. So we have a new feature. A new feature is born, and that is hashtag one thing I've learned there.
One thing I've learned specific about the language.
Yeah, and S-Town would be another way of dealing with that. If you're, thank you very much for that, T-Duck. And I'm trying to do something here, which I've been meaning to do for a very long time here. And the reason I've been delaying this, I think it's because I've been sent an audio file in a format I don't recognize. This is your muito bem, which I'm struggling to bring to the screen now. No, I'm going to have to do a little bit of conversion, and it's going to have to wait until next week. But you are going to get a long-awaited.
I don't know if I'm going to get through the next week now.
Yeah, I might send it to you ahead of time, just to.
I needed my Philomena fix.
Yeah, don't we all? Don't we? So Stubble. So she's put in the
yeah, because again, that's consistent with the rules. That's the. And people, this is another one of my things I learned. The whole thing about penultimate scares the crap out of people just because of the name of it. It just means the next to the last syllable. That's all it is. So that Stubble. Yes. So even though the last syllable is bull, not bal, it's still Stubble.
And it was quite popular, a short that I extracted from the show last week with Americans and British speaking Portuguese. I think the way the British might say it, the untrained British ear might say Setúbal. So I'm going to Setúbal.
Well, when I first saw it on the sign, the American was Setúbal.
Setúbal. That's very helpful, James, says Aviva. Good morning to you, Aviva. I've always wondered how to say Stubble or Stubs. I think some people might
almost any way you want will work, but that's my reasoning.
True.
That's my logic based on what I learned. So
yes, and let's go for some British pronunciation here. Laria. I'm going to go to Laria. What about you? You're American.
We might lay, but we'd probably say Lyria.
Lyria. I find people come up with weird and wonderful ways to say or pronounce Lyria as well. Thank you very much for that addition there, Pam. So are you going to tell us how it was going for your residency renewal session, James?
Well, yes, absolutely. Another fairly quick thing, an anecdote from years ago, but it has to do with various sayings in different languages and phrases and things we say that we go, why does that? Why do we say that? And in English, at least in American English, I assume it's also true in British English, but it's the phrase knock on wood. So, it's going really well, knock on wood. Yeah. And then you stop, you go, what does knocking on wood have anything to do with something continuing to go well? Like that just, what? Yes. And I had this conversation when I was a hairstylist with one of my clients. And I tend to do this. I put little pieces of what I do know together and think, well, maybe this is the answer. And in that moment, I put together, I said, it wouldn't surprise me if this went way back to the times when people were in touch with nature and they believed in, fairies and all the natural things that are responsible for things happening. And trees were traditionally known as providers, because of fruit and food and nuts and things that they provided. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was something where someone said, let's wake up the tree fairies so that they continue to produce food for us. And they went and tapped on a tree.
No way.
Tap, tap, tap. Yes. And that was just my guess, putting what I knew together in pieces that I had no idea whether it was right or not. And I was willing to live with that. It's like, I don't know what the answer is, but that would make sense to me. Well, this client of mine went home and actually researched the thing and came back to me with an email about it. And I was exactly right, according to the research she did. So that's exactly the origin of the phrase. And I finished when I was talking with her, I said, and it wouldn't surprise me with the advent of the Catholic Church that whole idea became knocking on the cross of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because that was wood as well. And that's like, okay, well, that would bring us good fortune or whatever. And she said I was right on both counts. I said, well, look at there. Sometimes an educated guess is right. But
Yeah,
knock on
absolutely.
wood, if you want to know, that's at least you can dig. You may find more research on it than this was years and years ago. But I trusted the client when she said I researched it.
I think
Really
I
did.
know where some of the Gumper minds will have gone thinking about the origin of knocking on wood, but no,
Yes, we're not
who
talking
doesn't
about that
like
kind of wood.
who doesn't like to knock on wood first thing in the
It has
morning?
nothing to do with shag carpets or dogs. None of
No,
that. Just leave it alone.
just leave it. Just leave it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. And an excellent, I think, an excellent little reference to your excellent intuitive skill as well. The reaching into the collective repository of the mind to find the right answer, even though it sounds like it was a complete guess.
Yeah, and this is how I'm studying the language. I'm putting all the little pieces that I'm learning about the culture, about, ways of being. I mean, the fact that the culture, how they say thank you is really, it's not every way they have, Portuguese has of saying you're welcome it was no big deal. I don't deserve, you don't
Ah,
need to thank me. I mean,
yeah.
there's a reflection of the language. So that might be informative in some other place. Just store it in random knowledge that might help me learn the language, And it
Yeah.
seems to be helping.
Yeah, and I'm making it sound like that was all your intuition. And I guess part of what you're saying this morning is if you combine experience with intuition and rationality, if you bring all of these things together, you start going in a pretty favorable and positive direction.
Yeah, and to me, that's a function of mindfulness as well as the spiritual sort of understanding of it. It's not just meditating and trying to reach nirvana. Mindfulness to me is using your mind to
Yes.
figure things out. And when you're looking within to figure yourself out, that's pretty much what we mean when we talk about Mindful Monday. But that's my process. I use my mind a lot, and even mind is not for me accurate because some cultures hold mind in the center of the chest. It's not the brain. Brain is not mind. Brain
Well, I
is
was going to
intellect.
ask you that. Yeah, to me, we have been brought up to believe, haven't we, that all this information is in our brain, and I would say that's the processor. And it's fascinating to think where all of this information might really be. It's as though it's in a huge collective hard drive, and we can draw upon it, because it's because if logically, if a thought was inside a human being, and it was the only thought of that kind, when that person died and their brain died, that thought wouldn't be available anymore. But clearly, it would appear to come from somewhere else, made possible by the faculties of the brain, of the human brain, and the individual perception. But maybe we're getting a little bit too deep. Like we've stayed up far too late on a Saturday night. It's now Sunday morning. It's 4 o'clock, and we're feeling very hungry. I don't know. It's that kind of conversation. I wonder what other people. Yes.
Well,
but
for me, mind is sort of the switchboard of all the rest of our holistic being. Mind is intellect, physicality, emotionality, spirituality. It all comes into mind and then gets sorted, and it's a switchboard, more or less.
I'm going to give us both one of these because I think I've fixed it now.
Muito bem!
Obrigado!
Muito bem!
You're right. There is just such a hit
feeling,
from that.
There you go. We need that as a ringtone, possibly.
Yeah.
Very good. But I'm not going to use it, overuse it. I think you should use sparingly. Otherwise, it will become meaningless, won't it? So there we go. Just 2 of those this morning. Yeah. There may be another one. Depends on how everybody behaves this morning. Now, did Ima get a muito bem from you over there in Cascais last week?
Well, yeah. I could probably take 3 hours. I won't. I can use 10 minutes and get it done. Yes. But it's interesting for me. It actually starts with an experience that reflects the kindness of the culture. It had nothing to do with Ima at all. I was on the metro to catch the train to go to Cascais. It was close to 2.5 hours to get from where I lived to where I needed to be, but I wasn't going to not have an appointment to get this done. At any rate, I was on the metro in Lisbon, and I took a little too long trying to figure out where to sit. It was pretty crowded, and I wanted to sit if I could. And so I'm kind of looking, and I found a spot and started making my way. But by that time, the train had started to move, and those suckers accelerate fast. I mean, when you're standing, if you're not ready for them to move, you're going down. I mean, I'm always make a point of having a hand on something if I'm trying to move when I know the train's going to move. Well, I was just in the process. I was reaching for the handle on the back of the seat when the train hit that maximum acceleration speed. So I started going back, and I couldn't get the handle. And instantly, it was like, I mean, it really does go slow motion. Instantly, the guy that was sitting in the seat that next to where I was going to sit has reached over and grabbed my arm. And the guy behind me has come up behind and caught me from the back. Woo-hoo! And I wasn't like going kaboom fast. It wasn't because the train was accelerating, and I just couldn't pull myself back up because the pressure kept pushing me backwards. So I just couldn't. And I would have gone down if those two people hadn't been there and so quickly responded and caught me. And I wouldn't have really hurt myself. I would have been, I was already embarrassed, but I would have been even more embarrassed if I'd like actually hit the floor. Yeah. But to me, it's like, I'm not sure in my experience of the rapid transit in the East Bay that people would have been that quick to try to prevent someone from falling. I can't say for sure.
It sounds like a scene from The Matrix to me. And that despite their look as though they're preoccupied with something else, at any minute, the Portuguese people are ninjas of kindness, as Jackie seems to be saying here as well. It's always warm in Portugal, even when raining, not because of the sun, but because of the warmth and love of the people there. And you felt that, didn't you, as you nearly went over? What a lovely little moment there. So you and I had a fall. You had nearly had a fall, but you were saved. I dare say if there had been some Portuguese people around when I tripped over the other day, they would have caught me.
Yes. I'm not sure they would have done that dramatic movie thing where they dive underneath you so you don't hit the pavement hard. Yes. And land on me. I don't think, but if they had been close enough to grab you or try to prevent you from falling. And as I think about it, that's now happened twice. Once was I was on trying to scoot one of those plastic chairs outdoors on the calzada, and the leg caught, so the leg bent, but the chair stalled and didn't move, and you're ready to sit down, and it doesn't go the way you want to. So I started to go down, and someone caught me in that situation as well. Those are probably the only two times I've started to fall in Portugal, but both times I had someone to rescue me there, and I was able, not consciously, but same thing. I was on the escalator at Orient one time. I shared this story. The woman in front of me lost her balance as the escalator was going up.
Yes, yeah.
And she started coming back to fall on me, and I knew if we went down, the 20 people behind us were all going down.
Yeah. Yes.
But
we made a great video. It would have been a fantastic video on YouTube, let's face it.
Yeah, if only someone had been filming it. Yeah. But there's that intuition. There was something I noticed the back of her foot. For some reason, I was looking down and I saw her heel wasn't completely on the step. And this not even conscious thought was, this could be trouble.
Yeah.
And so I was in that moment alert, and sure enough, she started to come back right when I was saying, be aware. So she didn't get far enough that she knocked me over, just enough that I could push her back up. I just held her there till we got to the top. So yeah, it's the nature of the country, I think.
The reason people help people so much is they've seen the cues in casualty in the emergency room, and they'll do anything to avoid adding to it. Yes. Very good. I went for the wrong jingle there and pressed the dial up in case you thought your modem was sparking up.
Oh man, that brings back ancient memories.
That's not quite what I had in mind, but yeah, nice little memory jog there. Brilliant, Pam. Well done. Colleen, bon dia todos from Setúbal this morning.
Setúbal.
I'm guessing anyway. Good morning to you, Colleen. Lovely to see your writing on Facebook and your feelings and your wonderful, joyous outpouring about being here in Portugal as well, in much the same way that James shares on a Monday morning on this mindful. Although might have to change the name. We'll see how the legal team gets on. Mindful Monday, bit of mindful migration on a Monday. So
well,
yes,
I think we're okay on the Mindful Monday. It's the copyright on the visuals, so we're making into trouble with.
All right, we'll see how that pans out. Now, well, touching on wood, of course. Yeah, so there you are. You're on the train, and this is to head to the IMA office for your residency renewal,
Yes.
right?
Jump forward to a really nice train ride between Lisboa and Cascais because it runs right along the river, and it's actually a really nice way to get there. It was about a kilometer, however we want to say that word, from the train station to the IMA location, which I had scoped out before. I planned to get there hours early. Turns out I got there, I got there nearly an hour and a half early, found the building, although addresses, as people who have tried to find things in Portugal know, are not terribly reliable or easy to figure out. It said it was in some big government building, a courthouse, or I don't know, something. So I was looking for that. I was going up the street. I saw this big building. I said, well, that looks promising. And as I got closer, I saw people standing with, phones. A few people had to go up the stairs so I could see them up there. And I said, well, that looks like it might be it. So I went up the stairs and I saw this big entryway with the double glass door. And I was looking for signage that said something about residencia or something. The only thing I saw was passports. And so I said, well, this must be it. I walked in the door and there's like hardly anybody inside. There's like one or two little desks, but nobody sitting at them. And I'm like, I don't think this is it. I think it was more crowded. And I had seen another small door on the side of the building that looked like, it's the place where people go to have a smoke break. There's just nothing, no signage, just a little door on the flat side of the building, on the side of the building. And so I didn't even pay attention to it. I walked up around the building, got to the front, and said, okay, that's the courthouse. Big, massive stairs, columns, doors. I said, okay, this must be it. And I said, but where do I go? There's so many spaces. And I saw a security guy, and I asked him in really bad Portuguese. I think the only word I managed to get out was residencia. And he said, sim, and he pointed and said, go around the corner where I had come from. I said, okay, well, I must have been in the right spot. So it took me, the long and the short of it, took me 20 more minutes after I got there to figure out where I needed to enter the building to get where I needed to go. So
it's potentially stressful on
yeah, but fortunately I knew even by the time I actually found it, I still was an hour early. So that's why, and I, talk about being mindful. Yeah, especially if you're new to an experience, get everything that you possibly can figured out before you go, and then be prepared to be delayed and confused and distracted many times ahead. So 2 hours early is not too early to plan to be someplace. So I got there. The security guy, I asked him again, residencia, and he said, man, over there. And there was a woman who was helping with taking the numbers because you have a code for your appointment. And of course, every time I start with my well-used memorized phrase of, I'm sorry, I only speak a little Portuguese. The security guy was funny, and he just sort of looked at me, so nodded. And I said, onde residencia? And he says, what do you want?
Yes, brilliant.
I go, oh, I think he was playing with me. But I told him, he said, right there. And I said, oh, muito bom, obrigado.
You're welcome.
Yes. And I went to the woman who was helping there, and I did the same thing. And she, about, do you speak English? She said, no. I said, I only speak a little Portuguese. And she said, English? And I said, sim. She goes, no. Oh, okay. We'll figure it out.
These are great moments. You shared two great moments there. There is the moment of the Portuguese person letting you try to speak Portuguese for what feels like 2 minutes, after which they say, yeah, what is it you want? Or like, it's over there. And then the other one is like, English. You say, see. And they go, no.
Well, we figured out, we put the numbers in the machine. It gave me the ticket. She takes the ticket out, looks at it, and she goes, oh, and I understand very little. And all I heard was, hora. I said, see, 1 hour. Yes, I know. I said, eu sei, hora. You know, I said, okay. She was kind of directing me to wait outside because the room was crowded. I looked around and said, I could sit in here.
Yes,
where do I want to go?
Why would anyone do that? Why would somebody turn up an hour early?
Yeah.
For an appointment. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, well, I got some time. Maybe I'll go grab a coffee or something. You know, there's the adage in Portugal is, you know, there's a coffee shop every 10 feet or, you know, 10 coffee shops in a square block, whatever. Well, there was nothing within a square block of where I was. There was nothing in front of the judicial, but it might have been something inside that I hadn't seen. But across the street was a school, and on the side street, I'm looking, I said, well, there's a red umbrella. I'll check that out. And it was a Domino's pizza of all things. And this, you know, I didn't want to, first of all, I wasn't particularly interested in pizza at that point, but the smallest pizza they had was about this big. And it's like, I could take half of that, but I don't. So I stood there for 5 minutes. I was the only one in the building besides the 5 people working there. And I stood there for 5 minutes trying to work out if I could figure out if they sold by the slice or something. No one even asked me if I needed help. So I just said, I didn't really want pizza anyway. And it was true. It wasn't just sour grapes. And thanks for not taking care of me because I didn't really want this in the first place. So I said, I'll just wait till after.
They were thinking, why do so many people do that? Just come and stand in here for 5 minutes and then leave.
Yes. Don't bother helping them. They don't know what they want and then they just leave. So just leave them alone. Anyway, I got to my appointment a little under an hour early, and I got familiar with the number system on the screen and the beeps, and I thought, well, maybe I'd just close my eyes for a bit and rest. Yeah, so I've got an hour. I could even take a nap and it wouldn't matter. But with all the beeping and all the stuff going on, that was not going to happen because every time it beeps, is that me?
Yes.
Beep, is that me? You know, over and over and over. But I figured it out and I said, okay, at the rate they're moving, and they were moving pretty fast, but there were probably 40 people in the waiting room, but they had 15 people who were helping people.
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredible how many people were actually processing folks. And I thought, okay, well, based on how long I've seen these people waiting and how long I've been here, I've probably got at least 30 minutes, if not the full hour. And it was already approaching, being 30 minutes ahead of time. So I'm thinking, all right, the earliest they're going to get to me is a half hour late. No problem. And then I heard a beep and I looked up and said, I saw my number. I had to do a double take. Wait, it's only 8 minutes after my appointment time. It's me. And I got up and I went over to the desk and the woman was sitting there. It started well. She had a smile on her face. And okay.
Very good. I'm liking this.
Not a grumpy, tired person. Just get out of my face.
And you didn't get the second prompt, because when I was in the Social Security office a couple of weeks ago, I was faffing. I was just, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be really cool about this. I'm just going to go with the flow. But inevitably, it comes to your moment, and the sort of the stakes feel like they're getting higher. And I was just, before I left my chair to go when my number was called, I thought I'll just get that image up on my phone in case I need it with the right number that I needed. And then the number, I got a second prompt. It's like, run! I've got to get
bombing started. Yes, there is a very loud one after, but I was up as soon just a double take. Is that me? I said, that is me. So I stood up and we were practically facing each other. So she saw someone was getting up. And so that didn't happen, but I did hear that happen a few times.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like, you better get over here. We're moving on.
That's right. That's what happened. I didn't realize that second.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah. So I approached and I did my standard greeting, boa tarde, como está? And she said, oh, no. I said, okay.
That's my lot.
Yes. And I sat down and this is literally what happened. I sat down and she was sitting here. Like,
Yes.
so what do you need? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to say something? Am I supposed to? I assume she knew I was there because the appointment I made was for residency renewal, and I got a ticket that said that's what I was doing. So I assume she knew what I was doing, but maybe she was just testing me to see if I would try to start the appointment in Portuguese. I don't know. It wasn't unfriendly. It just was confusing. And so I did my thing. I said, I'm sorry, I only speak a little Portuguese, in Portuguese. And she nodded. She said, like, okay. And it looked to me like she was trying to figure, okay, so what are we going to do about this? And I think I said, fala inglês. And she said, no, not really. Okay. So I pulled out all my paperwork. I said, all right, well, she knows the paperwork. Here's my file of paperwork. And she started to look at it and get on the computer and do things. And it was really sweet. Whenever she was occupied with the computer, she was humming very quietly. It was like, so it was comforting in a way. It wasn't like, it wasn't grumpy at all. There was no sense of
silence. Yeah, very good. I like that.
Yes. So I bumbled as best I could with the Portuguese I had. She would ask for a document or ask for something, and I would say, não percebo. And she said, so we kind of fumbled through the paperwork, and she pointed at things and started working out. And as I made the effort each time to find the Portuguese to address what was being done, I wasn't even aware of it. She was saying some things in English. It's like, after that happened 3 or 4 times, I realized, oh, she's got some English. She's using it to help the process move forward. But she said she doesn't know English, which is very common. By the end of the appointment, she was pretty much speaking English with me. I mean, it had a strong Portuguese accent. It wasn't, anywhere like Filomena or Gilda or Nunu, but I could understand her, and we were communicating. So I continued to make my efforts with whatever Portuguese I could, and she sort of accommodated me by speaking more English. And I even got her to laugh a couple of times, not at my Portuguese, but by making a joke. Yes. She something had happened with some woman who just wouldn't go away. Her appointment was done, and she left, and then she came back again and engaged both of the people who were trying to help other people. And then she left, and they made comments, and then took me like, is she ever going to go away? And then she came back again, and I said something like, mais, or something like that. And she just kind of laughed more and more and more. So that worked really well too. I made my efforts, and this is the mindful piece of it, to try to ease the situation, to show that I was being as accommodating as I could be, to try and, if I found an opportunity for humor, to include that in the process. So by the end of it, we were almost having a conversation. And she said, the computer is so slow, and it was taking, 2 minutes to download one document. It was like, so it gave us some time in between. So I would make a comment about that in some Portuguese I knew, and she would chuckle a little bit or whatever. So that went really nicely, and it wasn't hard to begin with. You know, it wasn't like she was grumpy and angry that she had this job. And I don't know why I keep using that example, because that's mostly my experience in the United States with people doing administrative work. People just hating their work and wishing you would go away. I only once have had anything close to that experience in Portugal. And speaking Portuguese or trying to speak Portuguese just completely resolved it. So that to me was an aspect of being mindful, do my part to make it as relaxing and comfortable as possible. At one point, I was able to say in Portuguese, and I won't try to recount it now because it took me 5 minutes to figure out how I was going to say it, but I told her that her English was very good. And you should have seen the smile on her face. It's like, really? Me? Oh, God. It was like, muito bem, you know, Philomena. So it really communicated to me that there's as much caution on people who aren't real comfortable with English on the other side as there is caution on our part trying to speak Portuguese.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so if I can tell her that her English is really good, then, you know, it just really lightened her spirit. So that was fun. It was, all in all, it was a very positive experience. I found there was one document I didn't have that I thought I did. It had to do with being verified that I'm in the tax system. And I had a document from AT, but apparently it wasn't the right one. I went, oh, crap. And she said, you know, do you have access to the portal? And I said, yes.
I beg your pardon. Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
And I said, yes. He says, well, we could do that here then. And not in that good of English, but we were communicating.
Very good.
And she said, can we use your password? And I said, sure. And she was very conscious. So she turned the screen so I could see it. She gave me the keyboard so I could put it in.
Excellent. Okay, so that's great. So which is a reminder to take everything. You might not think you would need all your passwords for every possible aspect of Portuguese life, but there you were. You had your Finanças portal password, and you're able to get over that hurdle rather than have to set up another appointment to come back with the same bit of information.
Yeah, or send them. I think what I've heard once or twice is that if you're missing a document, then you don't have to go back, but you have to submit it electronically to them or something to fix it. Yeah. But that didn't need to happen. It was all taken care of right there, and relatively easy. They said the appointment would take about a half hour. It took about a half hour, really close to a half hour, and we were done. And you know, she never said, "Okay, that's everything." She just kept processing stuff and putting it on the computer. And at the end, she said, "Okay, that's 107 euros and 28." Or something like that. And I said, oh, payment. Okay. That must mean that we're done. And I never, this is one thing I've been meaning to really stress with both this initial SEF appointment and the renewal appointment. These appointments are not to decide whether you can be here or not. That's not what they're about. Yeah. They're about verifying that you have the documentation you're supposed to have.
Yeah,
that's basically it. If you have the documentation, it's not an approval process. It's okay, you got the documents, here's your pass. If you don't have the documents, then we need them before we can stamp your pass. So for people to get all, oh, I hope I pass the test, I hope they let me in. It's not that at all. The only anxiety I have is, do I have the 12,000 documents that they need from me in triplicate, authorized by all,
Well, it's a bom trabalho and a muito bem from us, James. Look at that. Jess is here.
Jess. Hola.
And so true as well, an observation from Tito, because we're going to have a chat with Toddie and Tom in just a moment, find out how they're getting on here in Portugal, and to find out more about the Tonic, because it's the Toddie's Tonic tour, everybody. So true, James. I'll ask, fala English? And they say no, so I try and speak Portuguese, and then they realize my Portuguese is much worse than their English, so they start speaking English. Yes.
Oh, come on. This is too much work. I'll just speak English.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Superb. Thank you for sharing that. And Alison, very happy. Alison actually met Toddie yesterday, so it'll be interesting to find out. She's clearly still alive, Toddie, after having the Tonic yesterday. That's great. I figured out how to find mine all by myself on the portal. Here we go. One of these for you, and one of these for you, James, and one of these for the lady who served you.
Muito bem.
Yes, well deserved. So great stuff. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. Hold a minute. No, who's on the phone?
That's not a round of applause. Hello.
Let's bring him on now. Hola, bom dia. Tudo bem? Toddie and Tom.
Bon dia.
How are you? Lovely to see you on the screen. Now, in many ways, I'm very sorry to have done this to you. We were going to be just meeting up yesterday, weren't we? And we went to Alcobaça. We came out a lovely afternoon in San Martino de Porto. And now here you are on the Good Morning Porch. It happens. It happens sometimes. So thank you for being such brilliant sports and doing this. And only
I thought everybody did that. They come here and go on your show and then drove the rest of the way.
That's right. It's going to be part of the residency requirements.
That's right.
Future. That's what we're working on. But you've only been here, what, less than 48 hours, something like that? Is that right?
Pretty much, yep.
Woo.
Amazing.
Had the best tour.
It's incredible. It's incredible. So there you are in Foz de Aurelio, just up the road from us. How is it going so far? We talk to James every Monday morning, and he's been here just 2 years. And here you are, 2 days pretty much. The Tonic is here. How is it? We don't often speak to people who've just arrived. So how are you and how's it going? Thank you.
It's beautiful and amazing. And we've also learned some pretty good lessons.
Already?
Like not to let your phone die when you get into your flat.
Apparently you need the internet in your phone to get into your flat here.
Yeah.
And when you let your phone die, as you're out all day taking pictures and exploring and doing all that stuff, and you get back to your place and go, whoa, wait a minute, I got a little problem here. I can't get in.
Yeah. That's a lovely story again of Portuguese kindness, isn't it? Because there you were. I think, and I have to play some part in this of taking you to places where you took all those photographs and ran your batteries flat. And then making your way home, between you, neither of you have a working phone. And everything is on the phone, isn't it, about where you need to go to? You don't even know where you live anymore, how you're going to get in, and how you're going to get these phones charged up. So how did that work out? With the kindness of strangers, I understand.
You go ahead.
It was actually amazing because we were about to hit the panic button because the charger in the car didn't work. Because the easy thought was, well, we'll just get in the car, plug our phone in, wait till it charges up, hit the navigating button, drive up the street, pull into the driveway, and we're here. Well, that didn't work. So we navigated up the street without anything. Then we got to Foz here and drove around in circles for a while till we recognized something and pulled in. And that's when we figured out, oh man, we need the phone to get into our flat. And there's a coffee shop down below and a coffee shop up the street just a little bit, and then a restaurant right across from where we are. And they were all getting ready to close. And we'd had a little adventure in the morning with Michelle, the man that owns the coffee shop down below, because we also learned early in the day that if you put too many of your electronic things on all at once, it blows a circuit.
Welcome to Portugal. Welcome to Portugal.
Exactly. And so I looked at the circuit board in here and everything looked fine. And so I went to the coffee shop to see if they still had power.
His name is Michelle.
His name's Michelle. He's a super nice man. And they had power. So I and I don't speak one bit of Portuguese, and he doesn't speak any English. And I pointed to the lights, and I said lights, and I pointed up to where we're staying, and I said no lights. And then there was an older couple sitting at a table not far away, and you could tell Michelle was getting a little uncomfortable because he didn't know what the heck I was talking about. And he looked over at the other guy who spoke English, and he translated for us. And the next thing you know, they're both up here in the hallway opening up panels and pushing buttons, and boom, our lights went back on.
Fantastic. Yeah, beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then we experienced the big hug from Portugal.
Yes, abraço grande de Portugal. See, yeah.
Last night was even more amazing because we went into Michelle was bringing his chairs in and sweeping up, and I showed him my phone. I said Apple phone, and he looked at me like, no, I can't help you. I don't have an Apple phone. And we went up the street to the other place, and no, I can't help you. I don't have an Apple phone. As they're all sweeping up, they're super nice and trying to get their places closed so they could go home. And we went to the restaurant next door, and the waiter spoke some broken English. And I said, I have to charge my phone or I can't get in the flat. And he says, here's a charger right here. And I whipped out the charger I had really smartly brought in my backpack, and it didn't have the right USB connection to go into his charger.
Yeah.
I was like, oh crap, now what are we gonna do?
Then we realized.
Sorry to laugh.
We
Right.
went out, I went back outside, and here comes Michelle again, and he goes, give me your car. My car has a charger.
Give your phone.
Give me, he wanted me to give him my phone so he could put my phone in his wireless car charger that he has in his car.
And it worked.
Fantastic.
And so he looked at me, says, does your car not have this? Or, no. So anyway, he got our phone charged up to 4%, which got us into the flat. So then we were able to go back to the restaurant and get a bigger charge and a bottle of wine, which helped everything out immensely.
Yeah, very good.
And it was, and one other part of the whole story that was really amazing was there was an older woman walking her dog, and this is late, it's probably like 9 o'clock, walking her dog right out here. And here I come with my phone. Do you speak English? Yes. Do you have an iPhone? Yes. Can I borrow your charger? And she was going to let us up into her apartment to charge my phone. Like, this is unbelievable.
And we made it in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was super. Everybody was like understanding and nice and not looking at us like, what are you, dumb? So it was good. It was good.
That's so wonderful. So you got, as you say, as you put it, the big Portuguese hug. You found yourself with a little bit of difficulty there. There's a lot to think about when you're first here, a bit jet lagged probably, and you want to take lots of photos, and your phone is your lifeline. And what a lovely end to that story. Now, we had a fantastic time. Let's talk to Toddie a bit. Thanks, Tom, for that. It's so beautiful sharing that with us. And I did explain to everybody, Toddie, that we were going around the Silver Coast area, and it occurred to me that it might be quite nice to photograph your tonic, which you're going to tell us about, in various places. So it's Toddie's tonic tour that's going to be going around in a way that some people take a teddy bear around and photograph it in various places around the world. We're going to, I'm hoping you're going to continue this trend for us and take photos of the tonic around the world. Well, around Portugal anyway. And here's you on the key here in San Martin yesterday. Tell us about the tonic. We love it already. We've been drinking it. I'm going to have some more now. I had some yesterday. Alison, who we chanced upon in the Palmera Cafe, said, I got a rush from Toddie's tonic and enjoyed meeting you yesterday. Tell us about it, if you will.
It's something I started about 16 years ago. It was about the time I was graduating from my second degree in nutrition, and I found an old thieves tonic from the time of the plague, and I tweaked it and started my own, and I've tweaked it over time. It's all organic ingredients, all mostly root vegetables, and it's fermented, and between all the ingredients, it's just a huge immune booster and something we used. And people had suggested that I bring over some bottles, and when you're packing and you can only have a limited space, I wasn't able to, so I just brought a bunch of samples, and Carl really liked it, and I had to slow him down from having more. And you can have lots.
That's Carl.
It's
that's
so
good.
alive. It's so vibrant. As you know, it's fermented, isn't it? As well as having all these energetic, life-giving vegetables and roots in it. So tell us a bit more about some of the benefits people have had from it. I can tell when I'm drinking it, like Alison said, she got a rush from it. I can tell if I'm eating something like, I like a Big Mac from time to time, but it's not an alive thing. It is a thing. It's a sort
very
of
alive.
Yeah, it's dead. It's a mass-produced thing. And then there are times when I'm eating sprouts or kimchi or sauerkraut or something fermented, and you can tell, wow, this is alive. I'm drinking this, and my body's responding to it. I get the same thing, and with the tonic that you've made. So tell us a little bit more about that and some of the ways it's affected people.
Well, a lot of people swear I mostly just produce it for my family and friends, and now I've started taking it bigger, and it has turmeric root, horseradish root, ginger, serrano peppers, habanero peppers,
Woo.
onion, garlic. It's fermented in apple cider vinegar. Afterwards, I add pepper to make the turmeric more absorbable, and honey. And I source my honey, a Manuka honey, and it's antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, and just a natural way to boost your immune system.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I feel like it's putting hairs on my chest, even more hairs, in a really good way. Yes, Owen, the cat is out the bag, or the Big Mac is out the bag. But it's
I
all
would
about.
like to hear how Allison felt.
Yeah,
Like,
so let us know. Yeah,
rush.
the first bit of feedback is that she got a rush from that. So let's hear a little bit more. Owen, Big Mac Carl, yes, and Owen is on the train. It's brightening up, and this is how it looks from the train in Porto. Isn't that beautiful? Going across the bridge there, fantastic. And so if you do come to Portugal, will you be making it available here? I mean, this is your scouting trip after all, isn't it?
That's the plan. That's
Right.
the plan.
Okay.
Falling in love with Portugal for sure.
In these first couple
Easy
of days.
to do.
Yeah.
We had the best tour guide yesterday ever. His name was Carl.
Well, it was my pleasure to show you around yesterday, and an unexpected bonus to be trying your lovely tonic here. And Owen asking, I think the thieves idea has rung a bell for him. Is that based on the old thieves oil recipe? What is that then, Toddie, that he's talking about there?
The thieves, back in the time of the plague, the thieves had a tonic that they would use so that they could go and steal from the people that had died. That had died in the plague.
Well, I know what I'm doing today then. Excellent. But it was, I mean, in the times of the bubonic plague, this is a way of people taking care of their health.
The recipe is thousands of years old, so.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. All right. So, and maybe we can, if you do decide to move here, we can maybe see it on the shelves here in Portugal. Where else are you going whilst you're here? What's on your itinerary?
We're going south today.
Today we're headed south. We're going
Peniche,
Yep.
Ericeira.
Oh, that's where I am, but I'm leaving in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Torres Verdes. So today we're making the south trip from here.
Yesterday we saw the Albacasa Monastery and went Nazaré.
Yeah, Nazaré and Alcabasa. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And beautiful beaches and backcountry through the wineries. It was a great first day.
Excellent. Well, I'm delighted to have been a part of it. Will you send us more pictures like this then as you make your way around the country? It'd be lovely to see some places that you end up, if you don't mind.
We're going up. We're going all the way up north to Vienna.
To Castell.
Yeah.
And have met more friends that are touring us up there. And then going all the way south to the Algarve and all the way along the Silver Coast. And
wonderful. All right. We'll have a superb trip. Welcome to Portugal. I'm glad you're having such a wonderful experience of it. Stick around for a couple of dad jokes. After we've seen Pete's Pizza. This is a really weird combo. We don't normally eat like this, Toddie and Tom, here in Portugal, but he made this pizza and he drank a mulberry milkshake with it as well, I think, if I remember rightly. So thank you very much for that, Pete. All those pictures and videos, very welcome on 913-590-303. And your reward now. Oh, João de Norte, put it the other way around. Do you speak Portuguese? Well, no. Can you speak a little Portuguese? Perhaps a little. And yes, that's from connected to his earlier comment. If I find you ask fala English un pouco, the person will be more likely to say yes. If you ask merely fala English, then no should be expected. Thank you. And I'd love a sample of the tonic if you're coming up north. Owen, normally in Ponte Lima. So if you're passing by Ponte Lima, I think you should meet up with Owen there. And who knows what might come of that. because he is our food alchemist. So that could be quite the amazing relationship to have there. Okay, just to see you on your way, James. Thank you. I know you've got to go. Toddy and Tom, thank you so much for popping in. I know you've got a busy schedule. Home is where your underwear can hang from the ceiling fan. The phrase, Mrs. M walks in right on cue there. The phrase "don't take this the wrong way" has a 0% success rate. That's so true, isn't it? And on this matter of dad jokes, due to personal reasons, I'm going to keep posting dad jokes instead of seeking professional help. That's exactly how it should be, T-Duck. Thank you so much. James, have a great day. Toddy and Tom, have a great day. Everybody, have a good day and a good week, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Take care and bye-bye. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.
All right, bye-bye.